For people who are coming into the Web3 space, understanding Web3 is very, very important, and it just involves you learning about the industry, the terminologies that are mostly used in this industry. Coming to Web3, you're going to learn about cryptocurrencies, you're going to learn about the semantics of Web3, you're going to hear more about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and you're going to hear about things like metaverse, NFTs. So with understanding Web3, get yourself familiarized with many of the terminologies used in Web3. I'm just going to mention a few. You can go on to do your research. Cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, NFTs, metaverse, VR, AR, decentralization, blockchain technology. I hope that helps you. Moving on, the next thing we're going to talk about is what is blockchain technology. This is the main focus, or this is the center of gravity for the Web3 industry, or for Web3 as a whole. Blockchain is a form of technology that makes it possible for decentralization to be achieved. So what is blockchain? I'll just break it down in key simple terms, what blockchain technology is. But note that blockchain technology is what makes Web3 what it is, because without the blockchain technology, decentralization is not possible. And like I said in one of the previous videos, decentralization is the real solution in Web3, an internet where there is no control, no restriction, or no limitations for the users. Everyone is free to contribute, everyone is free to participate. And all of this is possible because of the blockchain technology. What is blockchain technology? I'm going to try to describe it or explain it using unique terms. Now, the blockchain itself is a database, it's a digital database that is distributed, and it is also permanent, and it is shared among participants or nodes of a peer-to-peer network. What the blockchain is not, there are many myths, there are many assumptions as to what the blockchain is that are not very true. One of the things that people say about the blockchain is that blockchain is scam. Blockchain is not a scam. As with every other technology, however you choose to use the technology depends on you, but the technology itself is harmless and is faultless. So blockchain technology can be utilized for the good of humankind and for the world. So blockchain technology is not a scam. Blockchain technology is not anti-government. And many people know about Bitcoin when they come into the Web3 space, and they tend to mistake it for the blockchain. Now, blockchain itself is not Bitcoin, and I'm going to explain this in a much clearer way by saying the blockchain is not Bitcoin, but Bitcoin has a blockchain. Remember, the blockchain itself is a digital database. A database could be more like a system where you could store, all right, retrieve files and do all of those things. So more like a record has been kept, a digital record book, Let's use that. Now, blockchain is not Bitcoin because Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, and we'll talk about that subsequently. But Bitcoin has a database, which is like the blockchain, where all its financial records are being stored. Now, note, the blockchain itself is not Bitcoin, and the blockchain is not anti-government. The blockchain is not a scam. The blockchain is what makes decentralization possible, and this is Web3. There are many types of blockchain. I'll mention a few. We have the public blockchain, we have the private blockchain, we have the federated blockchain, we have the consortium blockchain. Now, the public blockchain is the one we refer commonly to as the blockchain, and this involves an open source kind of database where every participant is free to see the database, access the database, and contribute to the database. A private blockchain is going to be one in which the access is not free for everyone. However, it's only available to a limited number of people. It could be a family, it could be a company, it could be an institution and an organization. However, not just anyone can have access to it. A consortium blockchain is similar to a private blockchain. However, it's mostly adopted by a group whereby they come together to share, data, and two groups who are probably going to a merger could access this database and determine how they want to proceed on things. It has some features of the private blockchain. Another one I failed to mention was the hybrid blockchain. A hybrid blockchain has features of a public blockchain and a private blockchain. So some features of a hybrid blockchain is public, while some features are not public. Now note, one of the key things that differentiate these different types of blockchain is in how the users have access to the database. The last one is federated blockchain. Federated blockchain is a kind of database mostly adopted by government. And the only way you can get access is through the office. So if you're the president, if you're the central bank, governor, or whichever government parastatal that you occupy, there are certain database files that you're going to have access to. And you don't have access to these things as a person. However, you have access to these things as the office. So the office gives you access to these things. So looking at all of these things together, you know that in a public blockchain, everyone is free to have access to this database. In a private blockchain, just a few persons because it is limited to an organization or a group. Then in hybrid, some features are public, some features are private. Then we have the consortium blockchain, which is mostly adopted by groups, and the federated blockchain, which government use.